Alright, we are back with another episode of Gilded Shadows. We just met Jack last episode, which was really interesting, and we also found out, more than likely, that MC is an unregistered Esper, um, and that the police or public safety people may be onto her, because someone caught it on camera, and it's on the news now, which is great. Alright, so after that, I suppose I'd have to go give myself or I'd have to go give my statement in person. I leaned on the counter, rubbing a finger against my lower lip. I needed to carefully plan what I was going to tell them, though I didn't think sounding too rehearsed was wise. Okay, that's smart. That's very smart. I didn't want to reveal that I was probably the one that broke the fountain. I had managed to keep that little fact swept under the rug for so long. Far too long to be outed now. Though it wouldn't exactly have been the first time I'd caused something like that was for sure. I placed the glass in the sink and went to get dressed. It was just that there weren't many people who knew I was an Esper. Trent was the only one I'd ever told. Oh my god. Even Mom didn't know? MC! Oh. Honey. Okay. Alright. Everything's fine. I'm just a little disappointed. I thought she was very smart. And I can tell, like, we already have this thing where she's very book smart, right? But that common sense element is not there. How are you going to tell Trent, who's literally wants to devote his entire career to studying espers, so he has a vested interest in, like, he may have never even wanted to date MC in the first place, right? He may have just wanted to study her. I mean, for God's sake. And yet she's not even telling her mom. And as far as I knew, no one else in my family had ever exhibited anything other than the planetary standard from 1 to 2 on the EA scale. Oh wait, let's go back and read about it. Did I miss anything else? I'm sorry, I had a moment there. Okay, so the EA scale, literally ESP ability scale, is a 15-point system used to determine the strength of one's psionic abilities. Scoring on the EA scale is applied similarly to fairy espers, but they can be difficult to rank as their abilities don't always align with the standard ranking system. Okay, scores of 1 to 2.9 are considered the planetary standard. Everyone on the surface of Arcos and Sura, I think that's how to say it, possesses at least this much psi ability. It does not allow for active use of telekinesis of any kind, but it does give people a sort of mild clairvoyance and abnormal mental focus that allows them to utilize the nanosystem effectively. So, for people that aren't espers, are they not able to utilize the nanosystem at all? People who score between 2.5 to 2.9, this are sometimes referred to as pseudo-espers. Ooh, that's kind of mean. They don't rank high enough to begin exhibiting telekinesis, but have mildly above average clairvoyance or precognition. That's kind of cool. In other words, their sixth sense is noticeably stronger than normal. They may be really good at reading people or just have exceptional instincts about things. To qualify as an Esper, one must have a score of at least 3 on the EA scale. Those who score below a 3 have just enough psi ability, or just enough psi to take full advantage of the nano system without coming to physical harm, but develop no actual psychic ability. That's right, because I did say that most people on this planet have some level of psi abilities, but not enough to rank an Esper. I wonder what they mean when they say coming to physical harm. Okay, so 3 to 7.9 is considered infantry and unranked Esper. Most develop weak to moderate telekinesis and clairvoyance, but do not develop the specialized abilities associated with ranked Espers. To obtain an official ranking, an Esper usually needs to possess an EA score of at least 8. Rooks, knights, and bishops have been known to reach scores of 12 to 13.9, while kings and queen ranks are exclusive to this range. Generally, the only Espers to rank above 14.5 on the scale are queen rank. You know what? Maybe, like, the guys can be queen rank. Maybe that's just based, so maybe that's not actually based on like sex. Maybe it's based solely on ranking. We'll see. I'll find out soon enough. What time is it? I have an appointment in a couple hours, so I just have to make sure that I don't go over on my time today. My brothers and parents were normal, grandparents, cousins. None of them ranked high enough to be considered a true Esper. As for myself, I didn't know what my exact score might be. I certainly had the ability. I'd even tested positive in one of the many assessments we'd had back in primary. But when they did the genetic tests and scans, I didn't have any physiological indicators. They did say, though, that if you're really strong, that you can mask that, right? And I think they said it with like the fairy espers, the ones where the mutation is naturally occurring, that it typically does present differently. A reassessment of my practical ability didn't show any side traits, so I'd been labeled a false positive, but I wasn't. There had always been little incidents throughout the years, nothing major, nothing I couldn't hide from most people anyway. I hadn't planned to tell Trent either. Oh, okay. He only found out because we lived together for a while. Yeah, but you lived with your family the entire time up until this point, and they didn't find out. And it was hard to hide it from someone interested in studying espers. Okay, that's the problem I was talking about earlier. But he had kept the secret. If anyone could understand why I might want to, he could. Even he had doubted that I ranked much over 3 to 4 on the EA scale. Nothing I'd ever managed to do indicated I could be stronger than that. As a child, even that would have been enough to get Endgame's attention, and I didn't want to be recruited for this ability by them or anyone else. I just never wanted that. Endgame's work was important. They were the Planetary Defense Organization. Oh, okay, so this is like the... Would it be like the synonymous to the military? I don't think so, because technically the military is still part of the government, and it makes it clear that they are not part of the government. They helped keep the peace across Arcalis, Sura, Dion. I'd heard they even made it up to the new Terra station, and those guys rarely wanted anything to do with us surface dwellers. Let me make sure I didn't miss any more. Okay, I did miss some vocab here. I'm so bad. I'm sorry, guys. Need to take another drink. I might have to end this episode a little early. My throat is super raw right now. Okay, Endgame is also referred to as the Planetary Defense Organization. They're a quasi-military force made of espers, and their goal is to help keep the peace across Arcalis, Sura, Dion, and even New Terra. Hang on. We're gonna pretend like I completely understood that sentence while I look this up real quick, okay, guys? Bear with me real quick. Okay, so they're not actually a military force, but they are similar to that. Endgame has a very broad function that covers protecting, defending, and keeping peace. But why doesn't Arcalis or New Albion's government do that? You know what I'm saying? Why does Endgame do that? It allows them to get involved and hired for anything from simple guarding or escorting jobs to negotiating treaties or fighting organized crimes. Like, these guys sound like hired mercenaries, is what they sound like to me. They are sometimes consulted on smaller investigations, but their most frequent jobs tend to involve Esper crime. They are officially politically neutral. I love how they have the officially in parentheses there. So they're sometimes asked to oversee various kinds of negotiations between hostile nations, states, colonies, and the like. They also help with disaster relief during times of natural disaster. They sometimes provide security for important events. They act as a sort of border patrol and protection from the Twilight Wastes, preventing incursions by groups that shouldn't be there. They've even been hired to oversee important business negotiations. The answer to no law enforcement group they answer to no law enforcement group and try to keep a neutral stance when it comes to how any nation or city-state is ruled. Generally speaking, they are on the side of a nation's sovereign, sover- sovereignty and will only get involved in politically charged situations when asked to do so. Okay, like yeah, like hired hands. They tread carefully in these instances for fear of making the situation worse. But this means that they sometimes do not get involved in cases where their help might genuinely be needed. This has caused some bitterness and resentment from people who believe Endgame doesn't care about their suffering. While the group enjoys a great deal of public support, particularly in some regions, they also have many enemies and detractors. Though Endgame technically has jurisdiction across Arcalis, there are places their involvement is unwelcome and they are known to be wary of forcing themselves into these places. Endgame also technically has the right to recruit any Esper into their organization or remove any potentially dangerous Esper from the public. Okay, how does that work? Because they're not government, right? They're not a political entity. They're quasi-military. That's how they're described. So how do they have that right? And how is that enforced? You know? Not every city or nation agrees with the policy, and Esper regulations vary widely across the planet. Even so, Endgame remains the largest and most powerful consolidated Esper force on the planet, and one of the only places where young Espers can learn to use their abilities safely, as it runs a large academy designed exclusively for that purpose. Endgame is made up of multiple departments and divisions, including combat divisions, support divisions, research divisions, and so on. The Endgame forces are headed by the highest ranked king, currently Magnus Ulrich, who is answerable to and sits on the Council of Non-Espers. So wait, is he a non-Esper leading all these Espers? What? Okay. That's interesting. Right, and then we have New Terra. New Terra is a large space station in high orbit around Arcalis. Originally constructed from repurposed parts of colony ships, the station has orbited the planet from the earliest years of colonization. New Terra is recognized as a sovereign nation of its own but remains largely uninvolved with surface issues. New Terra has isolationist policies and rarely allows surface dwellers into the station. That sounds like another huge issue. As its citizens do not possess nanites, there are no N-class Espers on New Terra, and they are viewed with some level of suspicion and trepidation. When surface dwellers are allowed on board, they are required to wear encounter suits or stay in designated areas to avoid nanite contamination. Some level of nanite suppression is also enforced. Terrans tend to view themselves as a truer form of humanity since they are the only ones not to be altered by nanites. Okay, that's nice. Wow. In its own way, it was incredible and fascinating. That just wasn't the path I'd chosen. I wanted to go where I wanted to go, not where I was told to go. I wanted to research to learn about the history of this world, not be some sort of psychic soldier. But more than anything, I think my fear has always been that I'd be chained down by this ability, that I wouldn't be me anymore. I'd be an Esper. And see, we're already like seeing the parallels between Nora and the MC in this story, and it's already kind of getting to me because she just finished saying that Endgame has a research division. So if she wanted to do research and get training for her Esper abilities, she could have done that, like within Endgame. I mean, even in, the real world, if you want to go into research, you still have to typically go through, get a grant from a university or get funding from the government. You can't just, you have to ally with some sort of institution or something. And also, her saying that she wouldn't be her anymore if she'd be an Esper. There are so many Espers in this world from what I can tell. And an Esper is just a power, right? It's not like it, anyway. I didn't want to be defined by that. Yeah, but nobody is telling you that you're going to be defined by that. But there would probably be no choice if people knew about me. Espers made up such a small portion of the population, fairly less than even 1%. Okay, so I did misspeak on that. Even the weaker ones were highly valued. So they are pretty rare then. I do understand her trepidation a little bit more then. But I still think that overall that's pretty... Hang on. I'm gonna wait till the end of this episode to judge, because I already sort of have to shove my foot in my mouth here. Plenty of organizations wanted low or mid-level infantry that managed to avoid being plenty of organizations wanted low or mid-level infantry that managed to avoid being recruited to endgame. Oh god, all this freaking lore. Okay. Once a person reaches a score of 3 on the EA scale, they are considered a full Esper, and are classified as an infantry-level Esper. These are the most prevalent type of Esper, making up a little over 95% of the total Esper population. Infantry rarely develop any skills beyond low, mid-level clairvoyance and telekinesis. Perhaps mild precognition or an affinity for shields and psionic defenses are possible as well. They are considered unranked Espers. Low-level infantry, who make up over 80% of the infantry-level Espers, are not always recruited by endgame, and they are often allowed to work outside of the organization. That's the other thing. Like, she thinks that that she's like only a 3 or a 4, right? And now they're saying that... Hang on. Yeah, that they don't even have to be a part of endgame. And continue living normal lives. Even so, they're frequently shoehorned into jobs as bodyguards, public safety officers, or other lines of work that utilize their skills. Okay. That's not great for sure. It's much more difficult for a mid-ranked infantry level to go undetected by endgame, and as they pose a bigger threat to normal people due to their increased telekinetic ability, endgame actively recruits them. However, other organizations do as well, and there are still a fair number of mid-ranks that work out in the real world. In many places, infantry that are detected in adulthood but do not cause problems are placed on the watch list. Upper-level infantry are highly sought after by the organization that isn't endgame, or by any organization that isn't endgame. They are the strongest unranked Esper and make up the largest part of the Esper population. High-level infantry are the only group known to be able to achieve promotion, when an Esper can increase their psi and change its structure to the point that they can change their rank. This is an ability unique to a very small group of people, and is both difficult and dangerous to achieve. Okay. And ranked Espers, in very high demand if you somehow manage to use your connection to dodge endgame. But all these jobs were the same: security, contract and business negotiations, law enforcement. If I had been discovered as a child, that's all that would have awaited me. So I kept it secret, thinking that if I could just hide it until I was out of school, I'd be fine. Adults have way more leverage than children when it came to that sort of thing. That seems ironic. You would think that it would be the opposite, right? Because, I mean, maybe their government is different, but our government typically... the aim is to protect children until they reach an age where they can, make informed decisions for themselves. And so far, it had never been a problem. So far. Okay. But yeah. We're already seeing a lot of parallels between, like, Nora hiding all her, like, sort of fairy abilities and, her over here sort of hiding her Esper abilities, which I don't know how to feel about that, because it drove me crazy in Changeling, so we'll see how she handles it. I paused just outside the door to my building and took a long, slow breath to clear my head. I would just have to hide it, as I always had. Besides, I had never tested positive again after that one time. Yeah, but like MC, you don't even know anything about your abilities. What if you blow a building up or something? It's kind of important. Okay. With the situation at hand, they had no reason to jump to any specific conclusions about me. It would be fine. I would be fine. Telling myself that, I decided to get on with my day and not dwell on it. There was a man talking or arguing with the building's security when I stepped outside. I might have completely ignored them as I stepped around them, but there was a second man nearby, his hair fading from silver at the roots to pink at the ends. I nodded politely as I passed, my thoughts turning toward shopping and the other things I was going to purchase, but I didn't get very much further down the footpath. Hold on, wait, miss, wait. My heart started thumping against my ribs at the sound of an unfamiliar man just behind me. Even though he wasn't strange or bedraggled, and he wasn't threatening me, I turned back hesitantly. Yes? I like the hair. I like the pink fade he has going on. Check him out. He also has like this sort of black jacket thing. Same thing as Jack. Winter, you're scaring her. Oh, he's cute. I love his outfit. He looks very sleek. Between that and like the hairstyle, he's very cute. But who are you people? You know? At least this one has. At least he has some freaking I'm sorry. I've been trying to watch my language in this playthrough because I have a problem with that, but it's coming out a little bit. But yeah, I do think that at least he has some manners, or at least some self-awareness. Wait, what? The pink-haired man looked startled at the very thought that maybe it wasn't a great idea to run after a woman while shouting at her. Oh, that's great. The dark-haired man quickly joined him, flicking his worried gaze back to me. He shoved his hands into his pocket and offered an uncertain smile. I apologize if my partner startled you, but you're Nikki Leon, correct? Okay, so he's got our full name. That's interesting. It wasn't a question. I narrowed my eyes as I returned his frank gaze. He was fairly well dressed and tidy. I know, right? He has his stuff together. The pink-haired man beside him was dressed more casually, making the two of them an unusual pair. That's very true. Like, you can tell he's very, like, sort of by the book. And he is sort of more, you know, make it up as you go. But nothing about their attire gave any clues as to who they might be. Your partner? I'm Ruben Kellner, a special investigator with UTPOL. That explains the outfit. This is my partner, Winter Ashton. You can check your interface to verify our identities. Well, that's ironic, because I was just talking about how I thought it was very weird that after, you know, she'd been identified in that video, that, like, the public safety people were just like, you know, we'll let her come when she wants to. United Triad Police Organization. Okay, this international investigative body has jurisdiction throughout the Triad, and with some of their allies, they work across multiple nations and city-states, sharing access and data on crime and criminals. There is a General Assembly that meets twice a year to make decisions regarding the organization, and each participating dome has a central bureau that coordinates with other domes. They fight a variety of crimes, including severe cyber crimes, terrorist activities, and international criminal networks. And they have a special investigations unit that primarily handles crimes against or perpetuated by espers. Okay. As such, they frequently interface with Endgame. There are no members of UTPOL on the night side of the planet, and the organization has no jurisdiction there. They often have difficulty investigating crimes perpetrated by criminals centered on the night side, or that flee back there to avoid prosecution. Okay, interesting. So these guys are like the police. Well, I mean, yeah, it says police organization. That was brilliant of me. Brilliant observation. I remember, if I remember correctly, with Ruben, let's check. Do we have a Ruben? Yes. Okay, he is here, so he is more than likely a option. In LA. Oh, and look, we did get a couple points with Jack, which is good. If I remember my last playthrough, I'm pretty sure Ruben was the first boy that I wanted to pursue. But I know that at the time, his route wasn't completed. Like, his route wasn't one of the routes that was being worked on for the main game. So I wonder if they have finished with his route yet. I'm not really sure. But yeah, he was the first boy that I wanted to pursue initially. I bit my lip and did just that, and sure enough, like all public employees, their identification was openly available. That would also explain how they knew who I was. Their positions would have allowed them access to my information as well. Special investigators, huh? I didn't mean to run after you like that, but your doorman wouldn't let us in. Ruben here had been arguing with them for 10 minutes already. When I saw you come in, I just followed without thinking. But like, my dude, you're a special investigator. You should think about the things you do before you do them. Building security is fairly tight, so you're a student living alone as well. I'm sure they're extra cautious when people come looking for you. Interesting. So I wonder if MC comes from, like, money or something, because it sounds like she lives in a really nice sort of building with good security. I don't know about that. There's just a process unexpected visitors have to go through, that's all. This unexpected meeting had me on edge again. Why would they come looking for me if I was supposed to go in for an interview anyway? Yeah, that is a good question. I must have looked as nervous as I felt, because Winter gave me a sheepish grin as he took a step away, tipping his head in the direction the fountain incident had taken place. Ruben, I think I'll head down to the crime scene and have a look around, if you don't mind. It's not that far from here. You can handle this on your own, right? I'll be fine. We'll catch up later. See you. It was nice to meet you, Miss Leon. He started away from us with a slow jog. Ruben watched him until he was gone before he turned back to me. Sorry about that, Miss Leon. We have a lot of ground to cover today. Though the abruptness with which Winter left made it fairly apparent it was more for my benefit than anything. Oh, okay, so I see. He, like, read the room and he was like, this girl already, like, doesn't like me. And I made her feel uncomfortable, so I'm gonna dip out and let you handle it, Ruben. So he's not as sort of, spacey as he comes off then. That's good to know. It's alright, but I hope you realize I have already received a request to give a statement about the incident last night. I didn't realize someone would be stopping by. This morning, they turned the incident over to our department, and I'm not sure they'd have informed you before your scheduled interview. Okay, so this was supposed to be handled by, like, the public safety people, and they sent it to special investigations. I wanted to talk to you personally, so we decided to stop by while we were in the area. I'm sure you did. Unless you're too busy at the moment. Do we get to choose? Oh, we do! This is another neutral choice. Oh, that reminds me. I was trying to see if, so we have relationships here. Can we look at, we have extras. What is extras? So we've got a flowchart, endings, galleries, profiles. Okay, let's go through this one at a time. Okay, so gallery is pretty much what you would expect. Sorry, my mouse is acting up. Profile. Okay, so these are all the guys. Let's go through Jack's and Ruben's, since we've met both of them so far. So Jack is only 25. He's probably one of the older ones, to be honest. He's Rook rank. Okay. So he isn't very high ranking. Jack is he is from Crimson. Jack is a smooth-talking and outgoing flirt who's not afraid to be upfront about what and who he wants. He has a tendency to be reckless, a trait that has gotten him into trouble on more than one occasion. Jack was raised by his little sister on the streets of Delphine's worst slums. Oh, poor baby. That's so sad. The two were taken into Endgame when he was a child, but he left when he was a young adult. So can they do that? Can they just leave? And then why did he end up joining Crimson? Because aren't they, like, enemies? He currently works as part of Crimson and is one of Casa's Fianchetto's closest allies and friends. Kaisa. Okay, so Kaisa is another LI, love interest. But we're gonna wait to go over that until we get to the guys. Check out Ruben. Ruben is 29. Okay, so he is a little bit older, and he's a pseudo Esper, so he is not as high ranked as Jack. And he's police. Friendly and earnest, Ruben is a dutiful member of UTPOL, an international police organization. Though unlikely to develop psi abilities, being a pseudo-Esper gave Ruben an early interest in Espers. He believes they need some regulation, but has never agreed with the way Endgame handles them. Not particularly fond of Endgame, Ruben has had run-ins with his agents during the course of his work, which often involves investigating Esper-related crimes. Okay, so it looks like we already sort of have these three main factions. We've got Crimson, we've got Endgame, and we've got, like, pretty much the police, or the government. And it seems like none of them like each other, which is interesting. I don't think we've met any of these other people. Let's check MC. MC is only 23, so she's a baby still. Optimistic and energetic most of the time, she is an inquisitive young woman who is genuinely curious about the world around her. Inky does not initially cope well with things not going as planned. Ouch. That one hurt a little bit. And can either stubbornly insist on doing things her way, or else adapt to the situation and try to go with the flow. She has lived for most of her life in one of the wealthiest cities on the planet, but has long focused her dreams on leaving Arcalis to explore other parts of the solar system. So it seems like MC has been like a little bit privileged, living in like one of the richest cities. Okay. And her rank is unknown right now. Okay, I think we're actually gonna save here. we're gonna leave it on a cliffhanger because I want to be able to like go into depth on the reaction, and we're already running a little long for this episode. But yeah, so far we've met Jack and we've met Ruben. Jack, I'm still not sure what to make of him. I have a habit of like not trusting the really flirty types because I always feel like they're trying to be manipulative, and I feel like I never know what I can trust for like coming out of their mouths that is like genuine, versus like what is just flattery or a bid to like gain your favor or win you over, that sort of thing. Ruben, I can tell I will like a lot more in terms of his personality, just because he's genuine, right? He's authentic, but it seems like it would get pretty complicated because she is a unregistered Esper and he works for the government. So yeah, we will see where things end up in these next couple episodes. But we did finally meet two of the guys, so we are making some progress. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time.